Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, consideration of any changes or additions to the agenda. I do have a few additions that we'll put, and we'll drop these down. One of them for highway radios will go under new business, and to talk about transfer station attendant will be under new business, and the junk ordinance complaint will go down under ongoing and old business. Any other changes or additions to the agenda?
No.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Approval of October 10th and October 26th, 23 minutes.
I make the motion, we approve the October 10th and October 26th, 2023 minutes as written.
I'll second it. The ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Jeff's muted.
You're muted, Jeff.
Can you hear me? Hold on.
He's not, actually. Yeah, he was with this, so now he should be.
No, you're muted again. Okay, now he's off. No, he's on.
Can't hear you, Jeff.
He's not muted, but the.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hi.
Hello.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, we're gonna move on to the reports, highway and transfer station updates.
The guardrails have been put in on Hillville and Branch Brook Road. And Summit. So Summit Road is finally completed. We'll just have to get the paperwork together to submit for payment.
Yep.
On that. Gonna start looking for another truck. We're putting a lot of money in that 2014. So I think it's time to start looking. So I'll get some prices together.
And that's like a year out before you can get it.
It's gonna be.
Okay.
What's the, what are you working in the Western Star?
Yes. They did come and finish the shoulder work, so the paving's all done.
Fuller did?
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna ask that question.
Yeah. We still got some to do ourselves on Hillville, but I'll change the blades on the grader and get that done this week, so.
Was that just Almont Road or was there?
No, that was just Belmont Road. Other than that, that's about all I got.
How's the transfer station doing?
We've gotta try to get them guys to button up a little bit. People are not paying attention to our signs, you know, throwing painted wood. It can't go. People need to start paying attention to what they're doing. It's gonna get the transfer station closed down, is what's gonna happen. So.
Okay, so probably moving forward, nothing gets dumped into the steel and the wood areas until they have an attendant with them.
Yeah.
So that's
I'm gonna look for this. We had a sign that we had up out in front to stop to see attendant before going down there. So I'm gonna see if I can't find that sign again. We'll have to put it back up until
Yep.
people can learn.
And,
So,
and if we continue to catch repetitive individuals doing that, I hate to say it, but maybe it's a point that they're banned from the transfer station, because we cannot keep violating state regs.
right.
Okay.
I had a question posed to me about class 4 roads. This person had another person repair his road to his property, and was hoping maybe the town could help him, maybe pay some of the bill or whatever. But anyways, I've been doing research on class 4 roads here in town, and I haven't found anywhere where town is responsible, except for maybe in the new town plan that has not been approved, but that's wording is should.
I know on Dolly Road, we've had this issue in the past, and it fell under the landowners that use that class 4 road for the repairs. Most towns are not liable for the repairs, from what I've read in some of these. And I don't want to put the town and the taxpayers liable for the class 4 roads at this point in time.
However, though, I guess I just heard that FEMA has extended for landowners, and if this person, because it is flood related, contacts FEMA somehow or another, or have been in contact with FEMA, it could be a help for them to recover some of the costs.
Very much so. I would encourage that landowner to reach out to FEMA for that.
Definitely.
And we
I will
can,
get in contact with them.
and, yeah. Anything else?
On that, I just had that on that Summit Road, we have that application for final payment, and it's just our chance to, if there's any comments or go back work. I took a look at it, but not since the guardrail's been installed, but now would be our opportunity for any punch list items. I didn't see anything, but just throwing that out there.
Anything to your attention, Clinton?
No, no.
Think it looked good?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Work
all
is-
grass seeded and,
Work is to the standard that,
yeah.
okay. Okay, I would say if there's no punch list for it, Jeff, we can continue with the paperwork.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure. Thanks.
Yep.
I think that's part of our packet, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, moving on, town treasury update, monthly income and expense report.
Just starting for those of you looking at the balance sheet tonight, you'll notice the new accounts that I noted last month, just a general money market and 2 CDs that are part of the general fund monies. Going forward, you'll see that change, but overall funds are in good standing. We continue to receive the majority of our tax payments through the month of October. Our current tax period has closed and now moved into delinquency and collection. So for anyone who has not paid by November 1st, that process has begun. But overall, the percentage of delinquent is quite low, less than 5%. So comparable to prior years as well. And quite a few on the last day, so they're not reflected here. Revenues for the month, interest was doing well, with switching to the new accounts. There's an uptick in that, which is nice to see. We did receive another quarterly payment of state aid for roads. The state continues to advance those payments this year to try and help towns with flooding, which was another nice surprise. It's $30 some odd thousand. That usually comes every 3 months. And solid waste labels continue. We're on a good track to exceed budget, which makes sense based on our increase. Nothing major of note in salaries or expenses. There is, you'll see a delinquent tax collection expense, that's a midway. That was recognized, we finally sold a property on 103, it's now in escrow, so there was some long-standing expenses that were potentially could be recovered, but were not ultimately recovered in the sale. And we have started, moving on to highway, we have started to buy salt and sand, so there's an increase in that for the winter road materials, hauling for that as per approved. Clinton mentioned the 2014 Western Star needing to be looked at. We have spent almost $8,000 so far this year on that truck alone, which our total fleet had a budget of $25,000 for repair and maintenance. So I support us moving forward and looking for something, because we could be applying that to a new payment. Hauling expense, hauling in the solid waste is up a little bit compared to budget for we're a third of the way through the year now, but I know there's some seasonal variation, so nothing of concern there. And then our biggest unanticipated expense for the year is, of course, the flooding and storm damage, where we've realized $397,000 total expenses that have that we've actually paid for so far. And we finalized our disaster inventory with FEMA as of October 31st, and that is an estimate, but we estimated a total of $1.16 million in total damage to the town, almost entirely road damage. The good news on FEMA, though, I just did a webinar today with an update with the state, and they're highly confident that Vermont will actually end up meeting a higher threshold for federal reimbursement with this disaster. So the federal government will provide up to 90%, which then the state and the towns match with 10%, and that leaves us with only a total of 3% of the total costs, and it was 7.5% if the federal government only reimbursed 75%. So our actual total cost is creeping down with that news, although it won't be official until the FEMA obligates those monies, and the federal, that it's actually up to the president to decide to allocate that higher percentage, but very likely. There was 2 new loan programs they also announced for towns that need help. One through the Vermont Bond Bank, if we need help with operating expenses and covering the gap for cash flow while waiting for FEMA reimbursement, and community disaster loan. At this time, we're not in a position to need those, but those are options and available for the next about 2 years. We could still take advantage of those if needed, although we'd have to start the process sooner than that date. So I'm sneaking my FEMA update into that. Moving on, we had applied for a municipal equipment loan through the state of Vermont, which is at a 2% rate for our loader. They are working on that. I thought they would announce it in October, but they're just doing due diligence this month, and will have their official meeting and notice by December. So they have requested additional information, so hopefully we'll hear from, at our next meeting about that. And I'm working on, I've gotten a few vendors to do demos and looking at other towns for accepting electronic payments, ACH payments, the potential of credit or debit cards, e-checks. So just a note that that is on the horizon. There's some regulatory things that are different for municipalities compared to, you know, your average institution, but it's all very possible, and many towns currently do offer that.
What would our fee be from the bank on those?
0. There would be no cost to the town. Any cost would be allocated to the person choosing to use that form of payment. And just, we're only 4 months into the year, but it's time to work on next year's budget. So anyone who is, you know, community members who submit things for voter approval, now is the time to get your requests in and make those known.
Any questions? What do we have in our funding for our truck replacement currently?
In the fund right now, there's about 100,000 in the bank. And we have not moved the 2024 voted amount into that fund yet. So it's 125-ish. I'm guesstimating, I don't have it right in front of me, but we do have a solid fund.
Okay.
7.
So 70,000 is to be added.
Oh,
So it's 170K, roughly 170 then? Perfect. Okay. So moving on, Mount Holly Planning Commission update.
I would like to make a motion to start off with, because we do have 2 seats here, and I would like to let them know that they're going to be considered, their term not expired automatically, and we're going to consider them valid holdovers and for the whole next month. Under the de facto officer doctrine, which allows them to legitimately act for this month to cover the town plan meeting tomorrow night.
So that was a motion to extend their term by 1 month.
Extend their term by 1 month.
Is there a second? I'll second it. The ayes?
Aye.
Aye. And Jeff did say aye. He's muted again.
Oh my goodness.
Aye, sorry, aye.
Thank you, Jeff. So those 2 seats have been extended through December 12th?
Do you want, oh, okay.
December 12th, yes.
Yes.
To our next select board meeting on 12th.
Okay, Mount Holly, town plan update.
Yeah, I can give you a couple updates. So Jeff submitted the final requisition for FY '22 planning grant, and that was accepted this afternoon. A couple weeks ago, I submitted a closeout documentation for that same grant, fiscal year '22, and that was accepted this afternoon, so that is officially closed. And as far as I can tell, we satisfied all the requirements. Also, before the end of last month, I submitted the FY '24 grant application on time, as requested, and we should expect a decision, I believe, this month. And then the last item is the town plan hearing is tomorrow evening, starting at 6 o'clock. here.
Any questions on the town plan for John? I have one question. In that new updated or revised town plan, there's mention of class 4 roads. And I haven't seen the mention of it. So can you help bring any of that to light? For if it's in the plan as the town is responsible for maintenance or not?
I can pull it up here. I think what we did with class 4 roads is look at what the statute says.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything is not reflective of statute, we should change it. But that was our intention, is the town plan should really add any additional requirements on the town that aren't there already. That's certainly not the intention of the update.
Okay.
We had talked about a class 4 road policy. Oh, I had started working on it probably 18 months ago. So I think that really is probably why he mentioned, I'm not going to speak for why it's in there, but I think that was really one of the reasons is we got to address it and develop that policy. We just had to take a step back and develop another policy because the class 4 road policy was referring to another policy that we hadn't. And so we just got to get back to that and, have an actual policy.
Yeah, Diana was graceful enough to reach out to some different towns and pull up their policies so we can utilize some of those policies as, leverage for our own policy. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
What you're referring to is on the bottom of page 11. It's the proposed town plan states, the town is legally responsible for maintenance, repair, and safety of class 4 roads, even though they may be closed during the snow season. Quite misleading, I think.
I think that if that's what the town plan says, that's quite misleading. So we would need to look at that and revise that because, most class 4 roads, from what I've seen, maintenance and so forth is held up to the individuals on that class 4 road. So if that truly says that, we need to relook that. Yes, John?
Yeah, just to echo what Jeff said. So usually what I think explicitly mentioned in statute is that the select board is authorized to create a policy that will override that in some sense. So.
And I agree, and I was gonna state that we'll come up with a policy which that documentation in the town plan can refer to that policy. Okay. Okay, thank you. Moving on, Mount Holly Conservation Commission update.
Well, we have one open position and we have one person who's is anxious to join us. And we would very much appreciate your accepting her. And I don't know whether she's here tonight.
I'm here.
And get all this down in here.
So,
Okay, I didn't see that up here, but we did have one letter of interest for the Conservation Commission. And it's Megan Litweiler. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yes.
If you don't mind standing and telling us or reading your letter and giving us a little.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember what I wrote in the letter the other day.
That's fine.
But yeah, no, I went to the Conservation Commission meeting whatever the last one was, a week ago. Yeah, but I have a background in ecology, and I just would love to have a way to help support the town, and this is kind of the best way that my skills fit in there. So I would, yeah. be happy to.
Perfect. Well,
Sounds good.
with only the one letter of interest, I'll make a motion that reappoint Megan to the planning commission.
No.
Or the Conservation
Conservation
Commission.
Commission.
I'm hung up on the planning, it's sorry. So the Conservation Commission, is this a 3-year or is this a 1-year?
I think they're 3-year appointments. Nominally.
Yes.
Staggered around the river.
Yes. So for a 3-year appointment, is there a second?
I'll second.
The ayes?
Aye.
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 Welcome aboard, Megan.
Thank you.
There was one question, Diana, didn't you have about, the seats, who was in each seat and when the terms were expiring?
Yes,
I do, but I don't remember.
right. If you could get that information to us, because it would be nice to
Yes.
have it in the town report.
The annual report?
Yes.
Should I put that in the annual report?
Yes, you should.
Okay, all right.
Yes. It also would be nice too, if you could get the minutes for all the meetings compiled and brought to our town clerk.
Aren't they online?
They're
I don't
supposed to.
know. I don't
We
receive
post
them
them
directly.
online every month,
Okay.
so they're there.
I think they do need to be delivered to the
They-
town.
They have to
need
be
to be-
delivered to the town office.
So
Yes.
you print them out and,
Yes, they need to go
Yes,
into
please.
They
documentation.
get filed.
okay.
They file
You wouldn't like it on a sticker.
That's what, I don't know, if Carol doesn't mind having them emailed or whatever have you.
No, that's fine.
them. Okay,
You can email
them
them.
to Carol.
You can email them to Carol.
Mhm. That's fine,
And she can print them off.
as long as we have them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because they'll be in a vault in their own
Yes.
book.
Oh, you want paper?
We can print.
Ultimately.
We can print them off. All you gotta do is email them.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Anything else, Phil?
well, there's a couple of other things. Yeah, one of them is, we're considering applying for 3 different grants. I mentioned, I don't know if you see the note. Okay. But we're, and each of these grants requires 50/50 participation by the town. And some of them, I think, will augment some of the stuff that Clinton's doing. So, in that case, I don't think there would be any additional cost, or it augments what we're already gonna spend money on. But in other cases, like in the case of solid waste, redirection and stuff like that, and education, that's a 50/50 And finally, a grant for Starlink and invasive species control. And I don't know what the details are of that. Phil Leonard's been working on it, and we're considering to do it. The main question that we have is how do we proceed with these things? How should we involve the select board in us putting together a proposal that requires commitment of the town, of financial commitment? And we don't have a clear idea about how to do it, not but, and we'll of course tell you what we're gonna do, but, you know, we don't wanna go ahead with something that you folks aren't already aware of. So, that's a question that, you know, we would very much enjoy some guidance.
I guess the first thing we'd need to do on that is, what's the plan?
Yeah,
Have a project plan, what's the grant, what's the expectations of the grant?
no, fair enough.
Mhm.
But and present them here, or
Yes.
can we, yeah,
Yes.
okay. Fine. But,
I'm happy to answer budget questions, but like whether it's in our current or if
Right.
it would be new.
no, I understand that, yeah. But, you know, before we actually, get down and write a grant, we
Right.
wanna know that you're on board. Okay,
Yeah, and the biggest thing is, again, to Liz's point, what's in the budget?
yeah.
What can the town put out there and what they can't put out there?
That's
Because, you know, the budgets are made
Yeah.
prior to.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Anyway, and just vis-à-vis the town plan, we hope to have a number of our Conservation Commission people attending tomorrow. And many of us have read it with some detail. And we are hopefully to give some substantive comments in writing. But by and large, the consensus was that it was viewed very favorably. And of course, the part that we view favorably is the part that's preserving the rural nature of the town, and which I think has been clearly indicated by various surveys of townspeople in the past. One of the main things that came out of those was people liked it the way it was, but
Yeah.
anyway, in any case, that's it.
Okay. Any questions, comments, for the Conservation Commission?
I have one question. I had sent you guys the aquatic nuisance report that the state requires every year, but no one
I think Phil Leonard,
replied.
I think that's Phil Leonard is,
That's his thing, right? I
that's
think.
his bailiwick, yeah.
Yeah.
And he hasn't responded.
No.
Is there a timeline that you need to respond?
I can double check on that. Don't really, there is a timeline, yes, but I
Oh,
don't
okay.
remember.
I
What
must
it
admit,
is.
I didn't look at it. I saw that, I thought it was something that he was worried.
Yeah. Hold on, let me pull it up. Aquatic nuisance. It says, end of year permit reporting. It says sent to me by the date identified in your permit, typically December 31st.
Oh, this is for the bottom barriers he's been working.
Yeah. So
Oh, I
basically,
think
if
he's
you
definitely on that.
if
but
you
I-
receive any grants, you have to then just report, and it's a very simple table. Basically, you fill out, here's what we did, here are the dates,
Yeah,
here's what it was supposed to be for, here's the year. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I'll just maybe remind him of that, and maybe you can too.
yeah, I would.
Okay.
Was that it, Phil?
That was it for me. Yeah.
Okay, any comments, questions for, yes, Steve?
Some of the barriers are still at the lake on the shore. And I was under the impression some of them belong to the Nineveh group and should be returned to them. I don't know when they're gonna get picked up.
I would hope sooner than not, and if they do belong to the Nineveh group,
Barriers? Yes.
I would hope we would return them.
Okay, I know who to talk to about that.
Go for it.
Okay.
Some of them belong to Nineveh, I was told.
Well, they belong to Farm and Wilderness.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I think they're stored at Nineveh, so.
Okay, so that'll be taken care of.
Sorry. I didn't know.
All right, we're gonna move on to new business. We have a couple of added ones. I'm gonna pull up the Highway Department radio purchase. Clinton, can you highlight?
We were looking at going with CVC paging radios. I didn't bring my papers.
Oh, the cost,
Yeah,
it's,
it's $29 for the radios, and then $29 per base for dispatching. $99 to install. But our radios, they're just not they're not putting out anymore, and you can't get the guys on the radios in the trucks. We've been using our cell phones because they're working better than the radios. But, we really need to think about upgrading.
Do we know what a yearly cost?
Well, $3,132.
That's about right.
That's a yearly cost
yeah.
year over year over year.
Yeah,
Unless you buy them out at some point, but it's pros and cons.
Right. They own the maintenance and they own the replacements if we
Right.
use them. Yes.
How many radios do they need?
there's 6 radios, two dispatch, one for the town office,
One for here and one for the
one
garage.
for the garage.
Then one for each truck.
Yeah, and I would like to get a portable, just to have.
Liz, what do we have in the?
We looked at the budget and it could go, there was a shop, or what was it, small equipment? Yeah,
3,500.
there is a 3,500, purchased equipment. Item that was budgeted for and approved and did not have a specific purpose. I believe what ended up happening was it got budgeted and then bought in that same year. So that 3,500 passed in the budget, but is not currently spoken for.
Okay.
So that would carry it
That
well
would
through
cover
this
it.
fiscal year.
Then we can add it into a line item for ongoing budget.
And that's 3,500 currently.
If that's approved in the budget, it's not quite 35.
Okay.
Well, it is key.
31 something. But
31, 32.
okay.
But that'll be prorated.
It is key that the town crew can be within radio call of each other in case of an emergency. Yes.
Okay. Are the radios gonna be bought here in Vermont? And can they be installed by one of the firemen? Do they have?
No, the company's right out of Rutland.
It's a Rutland-based company.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So I'm going to make a motion to move forward with the purchasing of the radios for the cost of 31, 32. We need to keep our workers safe and in radio contact at all times.
Also might want to add installation fees, etc.
Is that included in this 31?
No. it
What's
may
the
not be.
installation fees
$99 per radio.
per radio? So it's a total of $600. So that exceeds our budget by a little bit.
No, because we're
So-
already 4 months into the year, so it won't be a full 31.
Okay.
And the 2 bases.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's gonna cover it.
So I'll still make the motion with the change to include the cost of installation of the radios at $99 per radio. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
The ayes? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to consideration of Mount Holly Volunteer Fire Department for the use of the Mount Holly Volunteer Rescue Squad building. Bill?
Yep, Billy Austin, Chief of Mount Holly Fire Department. Hey, just want to give a little bit of update before we get into that, but since the last meeting that we all had together with rescue, I noticed the concern that most people had in town that they were looking to see if we could offer a first response team or a fast squad team. At the time, I wasn't really sure if we could offer that, but since then, we're in the beginning stages of becoming like a first response or a squad. It's in the beginning stages, like I said, it's gonna take a little bit of time. But once everything's in place and the training's been had, we'll be working alongside Ludlow Rescue. So every call that Ludlow has, Mount Holly Fire or First Squad will be responding with them. So we're gonna be closing the gap potentially for the response time that they'll have until when they get here, so. And since then, we've had an EMTA and an EMT come from rescue and join the fire department, which is a huge tool in the toolbox. Also, I don't know, most people in town know, but we also offer, we have trained ice rescue team as well. That happened right before I became chief. So that's something else that we can offer. With that being said, our station is just not big enough or equipped to be able to house all the equipment that we're going to need for that first response team. And so we're we'd like to see or ask if we can take over the old squad building and possibly the assets or the contents that are there, which there isn't much, but what's left is something that team can utilize, and it's gonna save the town and the fire department money where we want to buy it in the future. That's where we're at right now. Also, if there is another, catastrophe or a storm or something like that, that building is more handicap accessible than our Station 2 was. And we did house 2 families up there during the storm. That wasn't handicap accessible. So also this does have a shower and more facility for my guys to be able to, after a structure fire, go take a shower, or after a storm to be able to clean themselves or house themselves or be able to stay. Because I know we stayed for pretty close to 38 hours up there. A team of 4 or 5 of us stayed. So I'm just here asking the town if we could be able to take over that building, and if not all the assets, or at least what the team can use.
And that includes the ambulance?
As of right now, I think we could utilize the ambulance. It would be a non-transport. We won't be able to transport people. But right now, our engine that we have set up right now, I know some of the guys in here will vouch too, it's packed full. We are gonna need room to equip the team. And right now, it'd be hard in that engine. So maybe we can utilize the ambulance and set that up to be able to run them calls with the engine as well.
What are
That
some
would
of,
have to,
We'd have to take legal ownership of that
Right.
first.
Sure.
The town doesn't own that.
Okay.
what are some of the other advantages of having the ambulance for fire calls, et cetera?
If you guys could take ownership and we can use it, maybe we can get it where we can put a hitch on it, where we can pull we do have an off-road rescue. That'll make it a bit easier. We're not having to hook onto that trailer with our own personal vehicles, which could or could not become an insurance problem. It also has heat and air conditioning in the back. So if we do go somewhere and, for instance, we do an ice rescue and we need to get somebody in the heat, or, in the summertime, the heat stroke, we can put them in there, cool them down or heat them up. So there's a lot of advantages to having that. And that rig is set up right now. The 2 EMTs, or the EMT and the EMTA that came from rescue, know that truck, and they're pretty fluent with operating out of it. So I only see benefits out of it. So.
right, the one thing that would have to happen if we take legal ownership of that, Mount Holly Rescue would have to come off of it, and it would have to be labeled first response
Okay.
type of lettering.
Okay.
So that's the request from you. I think we still gotta wait to hear from Ludlow. We haven't got the final details from Ludlow at this point in time. So we're still waiting on hearing Brendan's final
Okay.
request. I know he had reached out to us on assets as well.
Yeah.
So we'll absolutely put this on the docket and keep this in consideration to benefit the town.
Okay. And as far as the building goes, that's going to be put on hold as well?
For the short term, yes, until we have a total.
Yeah, the default,
Yes.
you need to provide 30 days of default notice
Right.
when you're under the current lease agreement. And so that, the notification of default was on October 30th. So the
Okay.
soonest would be November
November 30th, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's still under that default as well.
Okay.
And I think Brendan and
Actually, Stephanie was
Stephanie,
here
yes.
a couple of Mondays ago.
Yep.
And did go through everything with us at the rescue building. And she suggested anything that our people could use, please keep it.
yes, so once we get through the November 30th timeframe, we'll have a better idea which way we can go. Then we have to take legal possession of whatever's left.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Bill.
That sounds good.
Okay, moving on to ARPA fund allocation for provisions of government services.
So, I did another training with Vermont League of Cities and Towns recently it was a municipal budgeting training, but they tacked on an ARPA update and highly recommended that towns move forward with obligating and then extending funds by the next reporting deadline, which is in March of 2024. There are a number of towns nationwide that have not actually reported on or spent any funds yet, and they're now being given notice of warning that those funds may need to be returned, because that is the outcome if you don't obligate and then expend them in the deadline. With ARPA, it was really unprecedented. We can choose to allocate funds for provision of government services, which is a general, it's operating the town. Anything that's normal operations can be underneath that provision. And it was strongly suggested that towns consider that, making that allocation now, or with their budgeting period. And the assumption is then that you end up with a surplus, or you can support your flood damage and avoid lending. There's a few reasons certainly to suggest that. And doing so, then any funds that are remaining at the end of this budget year are no longer considered ARPA or federal funds, and the town can choose as either part of this budget period to vote to put them in reserve or do anything else that would benefit the town. So the recommendation was to move forward with obligating them for provision of government services, which would allow further use in the general fund.
So I'd like to make the motion that the town of Mount Holly utilize our remaining ARPA funds for provisions of government services.
Is there a second? What do we have left in?
We have, right now, there's 283,279 in the bank. A small amount of that has already been obligated for our records fund digitization that we just did. So that would have to be accounted for first. But it's, say, $275,000 approximately.
Roughly.
And we did make a previous motion, I think, last year to because our budget was under, I want to say 10 million, to use it for general services. I don't know if we want to make sure we don't duplicate a previous motion.
Yeah, I thought we did do that at one time too, earlier.
And the wording might be different, but we should probably just double check to make sure, don't make it more confusing. I was trying to look right now. I can keep looking.
They did make a distinction between, there was, when we accepted the funds, there was a provision that you had to elect to allow for that option, which they said all towns in the state of Vermont except for Burlington did, because they were about 10 million. So I know we made that might be the motion that you're thinking of, and then that gives the option to then make this election.
Motion? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll second the motion that I think we need to have options and not lose it, so.
Okay, the ayes?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you. Takes away the channel, some other channels.
Okay, any questions on or concerns on the ARPA funding motion that was just done? Okay.
I did,
Yes.
just to mention, was successful in getting a generator grant. So that grant was just for the generator. There'll be some cost to the hooking up, and I plan to probably request next month, once I get some costs together, to have a connection. It shouldn't nearly be anywhere near the cost of the generator, but that's forthcoming.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff. So I'm going to move on to 2024 Rutland Regional Emergency Management Committee appointments.
So this is just the time of year when we need to reappoint an emergency management director and a emergency management representative. Those are currently filled by John and Jeff. I'll leave the rest to you.
The rest of me. All right. Is that something that Jeff and John, you're still interested in?
I'll still do it at this moment. I can.
I'll do it.
Okay, and John both said yes, so.
Okay, so you guys, let's see. I believe just the select board, just needs to sign it.
Oh, that's in the back.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think we still have to make a motion to appoint them.
I don't know if you do or not, but it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt, so, I'm just gonna make the motion to reappoint, Jeff and John, to the REMC seats. Is there a second?
I'd second that.
The ayes? Aye. Again, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, John. And, based on the flooding, again, Jeff, I can't give you kudos enough for what you've done for the town. And I'm totally sure I've had more than one town member reach out and commend you on the efforts that you did. So again, thank you on behalf of the town.
Thank you.
Excellent job.
Excellent job. Okay, another new business order that was brought to the board is the need for a transfer station attendant. I know we've been reaching out in the past for some part-time help with no success. I know it's not, I'm pretty sure it's not in the budget to add another head count to the transfer station attendant. I know we've been covering it with town crew. But that's something that we're gonna have to look at going forward, on how we're gonna cover time off from, whether it's Pete or Kevin when they're not at the town.
and I think that
Transfer.
two things that were brought up is one, is there a need for another attendant to support the monitoring of the scrap metal, scrap wood, batteries, light bulbs? That's what was one question. Would that help if there was another roving attendant who could be more aware of compliance?
Definitely.
And then the other question that I'm aware of is that when the road crew covers, they are paid at a higher rate. They're often accruing overtime if they haven't already worked
Correct.
40 hours, which they usually, or if they've already worked 40 hours, which they usually have. So I don't know if budgetarily that makes an enormous difference, but because there's so few hours weekly anyway, it could be a,
Yeah, I mean, essentially
Might be a
you're
question.
paying double if the road crew
right.
individual has to
Because
cover
they're
it
not-
on for overtime.
Right.
For, 2 hours for the whole game on.
So I think we need to put some sort of paperwork together, documentation cost-wise, and see what's in our budget for potentially the next meeting to see if we can,
Right, and then increase the next budget.
to accommodate. So I'm not gonna say we're not going to do this, but I wanna make sure we cover all our bases for cost. Okay,
Also, while we're under that, we still haven't got this done.
Yeah, that's the next, oh, did we skip this?
no,
Oh, no, it's just
no, decision that's down here on
7B, yeah.
It's on the bottom one. Okay, so that covers the transfer station. We gotta get some costs associated with it, both with the expenses of what it is for the town on the overtime and for a new attendant. Okay. Okay, moving on to ongoing and old business. Update regarding the EMS in Mount Holly. And again, I know Ludlow is covering response for emergencies in the town of Mount Holly currently. We were hoping to have a contract sent to us tonight. It has not been received at this point in time. But we are still being, again, all emergency response are being covered by Ludlow at this point in time. And I believe Regional said they would be a backup response at this point in time. So there's more to come once we get the finalized contract from Ludlow moving forward. And, you know, I was talking to one of the town of Ludlow Select Board members, and they're on board with supporting Mount Holly as well. So we're not a lost child.
And quick update from the lawyer too. She did suggest that she have a more full conversation with me or one of you, but she did review the documents and she'd like to do a little. She would like to ask a few more questions regarding some of our questions to her. So she did respond, but she didn't have full answers for us. So just an update on that.
Okay.
Particularly regarding, the lease agreement is very straightforward, but particularly regarding the articles of organization and the possible asset transfer, she had some questions.
Okay.
Right. Very good.
No, very good. No, I'm more than welcome or happy to participate in that.
Okay,
I just
yeah.
have to know when it is.
Yeah, I asked her if she could give me some times, and she hasn't gotten back to me yet,
Okay.
but.
As soon as she does,
As soon as we hear.
I'm more than happy to participate.
Okay, great.
Mark?
Yes.
I would like to thank the Mount Holly Fire Department. When my husband fell on the floor, his legs just wiped out. Thank you for coming.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
You picked him up like he was a sack of potatoes. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Again, that's another good thank you. I also want to make sure I reach out and say, you know, I don't want to leave Mount Holly Rescue in the wind. They've supported this town for many, 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 many years.
49.
They've done a great job. They're going through, or we're going through the same thing most small towns across the US are going through. It's hard to get voluntary individuals to respond to these because of the training. But I especially want to reach out to the existing Mount Holly rescue folks and thank them for their dedication to the town and to the rescuing of individuals. You know, I know everything's not peaches and cream. They are going through, or we're going through the same struggles that every small town is. So with that, I truly want to reach out and say thank you for your dedication, thank you for your devotion, and thanks for a great 49 years. Okay, the other thing we have is we do have to decide on the solid waste bids that were through. I don't know if you have seen them, Jeff?
He has, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made a spreadsheet. It seems like it's neck and neck, but I probably also ought to just recuse myself, even though I don't work for the company. But so I'm going to recuse myself from this decision.
I've gone through and checked them out, and I've asked questions of David too, and it boils down to, I think we really probably should stay with Casella's, because there's pros and cons between both of them, and they're
Casella's
about.
Hubbard. We do use Hubbard right
We
now.
use Casella's, but we use Hubbard for our metal
Metals. Yep.
and that stuff.
Yep. So, yes.
I'm Randy DeBron from Casella. So if you have any questions,
Okay.
I'm here.
So you want to leave it as is currently?
As is currently, because it's
Mhm.
peanuts as far as
Cost-wise.
cost-wise, and then what one doesn't provide, another will, and then so on and so forth, but we're better off if we stay as we are.
So you made a motion to
I'll make a
continue.
motion to continue with Casella as is.
Okay. I'll second the motion. The ayes? Aye.
Aye.
Casella's has it.
So I can put together a contract and get that over to you guys within
Yes.
Yes.
a week or so.
Yep.
And,
And we'll continue moving forward.
yep,
Steve has a question?
No, just remember last month, the two
Yeah, thanks for not selling my containers.
Now, remember, in this contract that you're putting together the rental fee for them being stored.
Nice
Thank you.
containers.
Thank you.
They don't know? Okay.
They've already been removed.
They're gone. Oh, okay, they're gone.
Oh,
I
One's taken care of.
found a letter from, I think, 2006 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
It was long before me, or this board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't know.
Okay, we're gonna keep on going on old business and we're going to go to junk ordinance complaints. Again, I have a letter of complaint, for, as they say, an eyesore to the community. One of them is 50 Station Road. The other one is 189 Station Road. And it goes through giving the location of the properties and so forth. I'm not gonna read every ounce of the meeting, but this is a formal complaint and it is signed by Cheryl Silva from 145 Station Road. So I would say since we have a new updated ordinance, each of these addresses will receive a new letter enforcing the ordinance. And I'm intact with that road quite frequently, and I will make sure I take it and maintain eyesight on it, and I will personally go talk to each of the residents on this. So,
And I'd spoke to 189 2 years ago, so he was receptive to being spoken to.
yep, so I will take this one on and talk to the individuals. So we will send them a letter.
Okay.
This is moving on now to citizens' comments, concerns. Anybody have questions, issues, or anything they want to bring to the town or the board? Dennis?
I was concerned, you're gonna send the updated ordinance, the one on Shunpike Road and the one on Route 155 in Tarbleville, they've got letters of the new ordinance, and I don't see any improvements,
Yes.
anywhere there.
So. Almost sounds like Dennis wants to volunteer to do some cleaning.
No, but we need a.
I will help you.
Somebody wearing a gun.
So if they have, if most,
Everyone who's had a complaint has received a letter, besides these recent ones, with the new ordinance.
Did the one on 155 accept the letter?
Yeah, so that's, right. The 155, they refused the letter. So there's not much we can do about that. They can be served. So that would be a decision the select board could make. The Shunpike received a letter and a visit from the town health officer, and the Chad did go back and saw there were some
activities.
improvement activities. Maybe not as thorough as would put them in compliance, but some progress. So I guess the select board would have to decide, do you want to continue to move to the next level? The next level is issuing a ticket.
Well, we could only issue a ticket for one. We'd have to issue
Yeah, I guess.
serving, and we'd have to use the sheriff's.
And we'd have to do another notification.
Yeah.
And then a ticket.
Yes.
And then the town health officer or the ACO can issue the ticket locally. You don't have to use the sheriff.
So I would say we had to take the one on 155 and have the ticket served.
Okay. We'll have the letter served
Have the letter
first
served.
and then 30
Yep,
days.
then the 30-day ticket.
Okay.
I will also take the Shunpike and go look at that as well and see what is improvement, and we'll put it on next month's docket.
He was receptive to being talked to. It was a positive exchange.
So I'll take that one on too.
I think it's been like that for decades. So,
Well, actually, they did a pretty good job the last time. They cleaned it up, so.
Yeah.
And it's coming back, so,
There's
Okay.
more cars.
yeah.
so we can,
We also haven't followed up with, the 103 property,
well, that's,
which also had some
Yeah.
improvements, but is still in violation technically.
but we haven't sent them a new letter
No.
since, so,
And we haven't received any more complaints
we
either.
haven't, but, we can still reach out to them
Yeah.
and
I wonder, Diana, if it would be worth posting something again in the chit chat too, just as a general.
yes,
I don't know if
the
that,
new ordinance.
I don't know if that helps, like, just causes more people to complain, or it actually helps with
Well,
compliance.
Well, yeah.
I still think we should post it,
Yeah.
post a new ordinance in the chit chat and on the news flash.
Yeah,
That
the
way
ordinance
it's
is
out
kind of
there.
long, so we could summarize
summarize
it.
If we
Yeah.
could do that, that
No,
would be
that's fine.
great.
A quick summary.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
At least mention it.
yeah, okay. So basically, I will send a letter to the 2 Station Road.
And we'll
and
serve
You'll
one-
chat with them.
Yep,
You'll serve a letter in
I'll also-
person
Yep.
to 155.
correct. And I'll also take a look
You'll
at
visit with Shunpike.
Yep,
And at the 30-day point, we can decide if we
Go
wanna
move forward. Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
okay.
Any other citizens' concerns, comments?
I got a question for Dennis. How did you ever turn out with the memorial at the library?
I can't remember, there was a formal bid.
Yeah, so there was, well, you received one bid from
Yeah, months ago from Angus.
Angus.
Fair.
And then Cody expressed interest. I did see his truck nearby there the other day, but he didn't get back to me, and I followed up with him a couple times. So he has not bid on it, but he said he was interested.
It's so late in the year, I'd rather they didn't do the repair
Till spring.
Yeah.
till spring anyway, so.
Okay,
We'll just try to keep in touch.
so we'll
In touch with him.
you'll have to start over in the spring, reach out for new quotes and bids and so forth.
Oh, we got 2 interested, so.
Yeah.
We'll follow up with that.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, moving on to announcements and other business. Town office will be closed at noon on November 23rd and all day November 24th for Thanksgiving. Then review and sign the orders. I don't have anything that needs to go into executive session.
Nope, I don't either.
So we'll pass on executive session, Title 1 VSA S 313A3. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to this meeting. Meeting is adjourned.